Dr. Subhash, good morning.
Good morning, Pradeep Kumar ji. How are you?
I am all right.
Long time.
Quite a
Nice
few
to see
years.
you.
Quite a
Yeah,
few
yeah.
years.
How are you now?
All right, sir.
You're in Bangalore, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Are you on any permanent assignment or you're?
No, I've been on my own for a few years now.
Yeah.
Generally, as far as focusing a lot on education and career counseling. As you know, as you might remember, I write for Deccan Herald and Prajavani
Correct.
regularly.
I've seen that.
And
Yeah.
since last year, I'm doing a column in Prajavani every week. Every Monday it comes, in fact, answering questions from students and parents about education and what courses they should do, also related to jobs. So I'm into writing and this column and guest lectures.
Great.
And I also do some corporate training. So that's what is happening now. And as you know, last 2 years, nothing much happened. Many projects were coming up, but those projects did not take off for various reasons.
Yes, sir.
So looking for something. In fact, I'm looking at 1 or 2 papers, to regularly teach in an institution. For example, sales and distribution, for example, where I've spent a lot of time, and a lot of case studies are there, which can be shared with students. I've taught earlier. I've taught in Acharya School of Management for about 3 years, MBA students. And also I taught in an American university called Long Island University. I was teaching globalization, media, social change. Then I got busy with consultancy. I had to give it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you're open to doing any kind of adjunct teaching on sales and distribution management?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm looking. And I think UGC has now announced a few days back, they've relaxed, and I think it's a good development.
Good move.
Good. So there'll be more interaction between academics and industry, institution and students. And I think students will get the benefit of it.
Surely. Surely.
Yeah.
That's nice, Pradeep Kumar.
Yeah.
And how is the alumni meet? Are you in?
I'm there, but it's not really taking off. Very unfortunately, there is just a small set of people, maybe 8-10 people who are very actively trying to do, but it's not happening. It's a little unfortunate. I've also been part of that effort earlier, but somehow it's not happening. So, but the effort is still on.
Sorry? When Indrachand Duderia was
alive. When I think that was a time when we reached some level of operations. After that, there are people who are consistently not giving it up, but it's not showing up in results.
Correct. We should do something on that.
Definitely, we should do. I have also told them that I am also available for any of our meetings, experience sharing, or any kind of an activity. Always, it will be a pleasure to give something back to the institution also and build our community. We have a very large community of alumni, and people are in some very important positions. You would be knowing about this guy in Canada who is a member of parliament there.
Acharya.
Acharya. So we had met him about 5 years back in Bangalore. 4-5 years back, he was in Bangalore.
He had come to Bangalore, huh?
Yeah, he had come to Bangalore. So we had a small get together with him. I think about 4 or 5 years back. So our reach is there, but somehow getting everybody together and organizing some meaningful programs. I think one issue is everybody is spread out between various cities, including Hubli, Dharwad, Bangalore, Bombay. So
that's bound to happen, no?
That's bound to happen, and I think with all this webinar and things like that, I think we should be able to organize it.
Connect, yeah.
Good morning, sir.
Very good morning, Anupama.
Good morning, Anupama.
Yeah, fine. Good morning, Subhash sir.
Good morning,
You're joined from Bombay.
Fine, sir. Yeah. So, sir, Chachadi sir is finding it a little difficult to join the meeting. I have sent him the link again, sir. So we'll just wait for 1 more minute, sir. He will.
Sure. Absolutely. No, he's needed. So
Yeah.
we can wait
Yes,
for a
sir.
few minutes. Yes.
So we can't start. So that is the reason.
Sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Ramakanji. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you so much.
Long time.
Very good morning. You're always there in all our events. It's such a pleasure.
Yes.
And I think without you, nothing will move.
No, certainly not.
Very true.
You're
Very
facilitating so many things.
Yeah.
Ramakant sir, your Kurvi sir is joining now, no? I have sent him the link.
Yeah, I shared link with a lot of people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we'll just wait for 1 minute for Chachadi sir to join and then we'll start.
Sure.
Yeah. Well,
So, Pradeep Kumarji, what do you feel about the new education policy and its impact? If at all you've been interacting with some of the
I have. In fact, on NEP, I was on Times Now panel discussion couple of times.
Okay.
Last 2 years. I feel it is definitely the right thing to happen. I am only concerned about, like any government program. Unfortunately, I am only concerned about the implementation part of it. That's the only challenge. But I think in Karnataka, we seem to be more active. And when I say more active, I'm very sure there'll be more teething problems and troubles as well. But I think it's the right thing to happen. Few things like, 4 years of graduation and students can directly go for PhD. The fourth year being research oriented. All these are really nice things, in fact. And the only thing is, right from think about a student who joins first standard according to NEP and comes out. That's such a long time from now. To see the full
16
impact.
years.
Yeah, to see the full impact of NEP, it will take. But I think any such major change will have to go through like this.
No, but already UG program has started on the NEP.
Yes.
So that should be on by another, now already second year in Karnataka at least.
Yeah.
So another 2 years, we should be able to see some benefits. Let's see.
That's right. There's a lack of accurate information, I would say, on NEP. All that I have, I mean, you would be having access to many more things. All that I have is that 68 or 69 pages of that original NEP document. Okay, and student, when they ask questions, of course, now they can choose subjects from different streams. All that is there. But where is it available? I mean, which college or which university is readily available? What are the options? That kind of an information is not easily available. So
it's left to the college primarily now.
Yeah.
Actually, we had some discussion related to MBA also on that last about a few months ago in the university also.
Okay.
Because we have direct access to second year of MBA.
Yeah.
Even Dr. Ramakant also should be concerned about is that direct access to BBA fourth year ke baad, they come directly into the second year.
That's right.
Now, therefore, you shortcut the PGCET and those entrance tests and all that. Therefore, do you maintain a double entrance? Therefore, I mean, or is it that this thing? So we were discussing that, and what emerged is that 50% of the second year quota, that is, if I have 120 seats, 60 seats can be taken in by lateral entry from the BBA into the thing. Now, the other question is, what about BCom? What about BE? Because they are people who can also enter into this thing. They can also enter into the second year directly. So what's going to happen is the 2-year PG program is going to lose its sheen very soon. It's going to become like the American system or the European system where you talk of 12 months PG program. And we were discussing about if you want a BCom to enter it, and he has to enter into second year directly, he should have done most of the compulsory courses of the first year of MBA. If he hasn't done, how do you make sure? So they have come out with an academic credit of banks. Okay. Now, in which they say that at least, I think 60 credits or so should be related to management if they have chosen, which means as electives and optionals, the students should have chosen some number of credits related to management. Only then they can be allowed to admit. What happens to the others? The others will have to come through again the PGCT route. So there are some teething issues in this kind of courses which are not addressed till. We have not come to that. The moment we come to it, I think those issues also will be addressed. It was a very nice discussion we had with the university. Karnataka University is quite leading on that front, actually. So we have to wait and see how things will emerge. But it's definitely going to have a big impact on MBA, because
MBA I think will be an issue.
Yeah, because MBA is basically a multi
discipline.
It's a multidisciplinary course by its nature. So there is not much of this thing on that.
To a very little extent, BBA or BBM graduates have a little advantage. But what about people from BA and BCom and BSc?
So BA people cannot come in. The only nearest discipline is BCom.
I see.
BA, if you do 4 years.
What about BSc?
BSc also, if you do 4 years, doesn't mean they can come straight into MBA.
Oh, I see.
I mean, into the second year of MBA. They can come into the first year MBA. But then they will not get the benefit of doing 4 years course.
At this point, I had not come to my notice.
Yeah. Unless until they do a minimum number of credits in that particular discipline.
So BSc and BA graduates, if they want to get into MBA, they have to come into the first year.
First year.
Yeah.
Unless until the BSc discipline, the BSc faculty, science faculty, offers them courses which are related to management first year.
Yeah. But that will be only 1 or 2 subjects at the most, I suppose.
No, they have to be more than that.
Yeah, they have to be more than that. But
otherwise, they can't compete with the second years of the thing. That problem would be there.
Yeah.
Or unless until you make a separate discipline totally. But bringing in multidisciplinary, especially for courses like MBA and MCA, we would have this problem, which are multidisciplinary courses. The real test is for them.
So is there any guideline that we have received from you?
No, they are emerging. They are emerging. They are coming out with the guidelines. In fact, we had a discussion related to that only.
Okay.
Now, another issue, for example, we do the internship at the end of 1 year.
Yeah.
Correct. Now, when you do a 4-year BCom, where do they do internship? They don't do the internship. They come straight. So their exposure into the industry is not there. So what do we do? Do we make sure that they go through the internship or not? Those are the issues which will be there. Or in the BBA itself, or the BA or BCom, they should have a separate. So if you want to choose MBA for a BSc student or for a BA student, the MBA faculty has to define. You must have done these courses, then you can come straight to second year MBA. And that should be communicated to the UG students right well in advance. Then they will get an idea.
Now, is there another option for BA and BSc students? They just finished, they don't do the 4-year degree. They just do the 3-year degree.
Then they can come.
And they can come direct into first year.
First year, that is always there. That is always open. That is always open.
That will be a better option for them, I suppose, so that they don't lose the exposure in the first year, first year of management, the basics, the fundamentals, they don't lose that.
Correct. What you say is right. So for people like BA, unless until what you can do is, for the BA itself, if they want to enter into the second year of the MBA, from first semester, they should do some courses which are related to MBA, which we can suggest. In fact, my concern is really for the BA. To be very honest with you, because we produce lakhs of students under BA, and we don't give them an option, career option at all. Nobody bothers about them, really. They're left to themselves. The only thing they do is that they take up this competitive examination, wait for the government post and all that. This is the only opening they have. There's no other opening. So it's very sad, actually. We have to really, the arts faculty have to really wake up on this and then make sure that they give a career for the BA arts students also. You cannot tell you do my studies here. This is my syllabus. After that, you are on your own kind of thing. No, I don't think that's a good thing, actually.
But at a very broad and at a level, international level, what I have observed, is that humanities, the subjects in humanities and humanities as a career is kind of re-emerging.
Yes, of course.
Is re-emerging.
Yes,
For
yes,
example,
there's no doubt.
yeah, for example, automobiles, the driverless cars, for example, and all these technologies, the human behavior and, all these things are being applied there. So there's a book I came across about a year back, which is, I think, called The Techie versus the Fuzzy. Techie is the technology guys, and fuzzy is those people in humanities.
Yeah.
And this book is a brilliant book. In fact, I've written an article on this, both in Kannada as well as in English.
Wonderful.
And the book quotes a lot of people, the technology giants, including whether it's Microsoft or Apple or so many companies. The CEOs or the founders, they all came from humanities background, kind of, or languages, for example. So that book goes on to prove that that there is that there is future for humanities, and it is a kind of re-emerging. But
I think
we have to see it at the ground level. For somebody who is not a very who is not had a very brilliant academic record in, let's say, arts. Somebody who passes out with 50-60% or not very strong in communication. I think the ground level issues are very much there in terms of building a career.
In fact, I just suddenly struck my mind that you have something called outliers, right?
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
I think the outliers in the top management are basically people who come from the humanities and liberal arts.
Exactly.
They are better off than the focused
yes.
management. They are good at the second level and third level.
Yeah, that is what this book talks about. I will share that article with you. It came in Deccan Herald about 5-6 months back.
Oh, okay, great.
It's very good. Nice. And a lot of people like Anand Mahindra, Shibu Lal, for example, all these people have spoken in favor of humanities.
Yeah, I think we have actually undermined the importance of humanities.
Yeah.
And in fact, MBAs are also responsible for that, because MBAs have only been focusing on finance and marketing, and they have left out the humanities part to institutions like TIS and XLRI and things like that.
Yeah.
And they have created a group of themselves, actually. In the corporate, the XLRIs and TIS people have become a group by themselves. So that has developed some kind of a group them by themselves, only for themselves. I think that has to be broken. Those walls have to be broken.
True.
Humanities have to be allowed at all levels, actually. Yes, Dr. Anupama Balagi, what do we do?
Joining anyway, we will start off, sir. I have sent him the other link also. So he said we can start now because people are waiting. So first of all, a very good morning to all the panelists and all the participants who have joined here. So this is a very unique session today, where it is in the memory of a very highly acclaimed educationist. So let me start off with a Bhagavad Gita shloka, which says, Yadyad acharati sreshtaha tattadeve taro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokas tadanu vartate. So whatever the great men do, that is how the entire world follows. And that is the legacy that has been left behind by a great educationist, a great personality, and a wonderful human being. I just had one chance interaction with Sir. So this is something which all of us have to take it forward. And I welcome you all for this particular session today. And to take us through this entire session, I have with me the eminent speakers. We have Mr. Pradeep Kumar, who will take us through the entire, he will be giving us the keynote address. And then we have Dr. M.S. Subhash, former Vice Chancellor of Krishnadevaraya University and former Professor and Dean of Kausali Institute of Management Studies, Dharwad. Then we have with us Dr. Ramakant Kulkarni and Dr. Vishwanath Kurvi, sir, both from Chetan Business School. We have Dr. Purushottam Bang, Director of RV Institute of Management, who is presiding over this program. So, and of course, the backbone behind this entire one is, of course, Chachari sir, but he wanted to, be there and start with the initial remarks, but then because of some technical issues, so it is taking a little more time. So I think we could go ahead and just to give a brief introduction about our keynote speaker today. Yeah, Mr. V Pradeep Kumar is a senior management professional with more than 4 decades of experience, a very diverse and rich experience, both domestic as well as international. Then the sir has completed his MBA from Karnataka University with the 3rd rank in 1980 and began his corporate career at Mumbai in 1980. After that, he has proved that learning never stops. He has completed a lot of short duration courses and enhanced his knowledge into diverse fields. So to tell a little about sir's corporate life, he has had a very long tenure with Wimco Limited, a Swedish multinational, and took on the responsibility to start the southern operations of Tata Infomedia Limited as General Manager South in 1993. He is credited with the successful launch of Tata Press Yellow Pages in southern India and was part of senior management responsible for the diversification of the company into several B2B, B2C magazines such as Overdrive, Better Photography, AV Max, Search, and so on. So, and a significant contribution from 2003 until 2009, he headed Hawk Media LLC, Dubai, UAE, and was responsible for the resurrection of the brand Hawk. And not only a rich corporate experience, sir has also had a very, rich experience in the teaching field as well. He has taught at Long Island University in New York, USA, in their India Center, Bangalore, during 2011 to 13 on globalization, media, and social change related subjects. During the same period, he has also taught MBA students of Acharya School of Management, Bangalore, on management, marketing, sales and distribution management, consumer behavior, and the list goes on. He is also a well-known guest faculty at many management institutions. Like sir was just telling now, he is a prominent writer on career guidance, soft skills, and education. So he has come out with more than 200 articles, most of which are by Deccan Herald, Prajavani, and Sudha. So since June 2021, he is doing a weekly column for Prajavani. His first book, Simple is Difficult, was published in 2009 and released by Jnanpith awardee, late Dr. U.R. Ananthamurthy. Sir, it's an honor to have you amidst us and listen to your insights. And I request you to please take over the session. Probably, sir, with the permission of all the other panelists, Chachari sir can come back once he joins. He can come out with the remarks, concluding remarks later on. So I think Pradeep sir can take over the session.
So thank you, Anupama.
Yes, sir.
So let me begin and hope Dr. Chachari joins us soon. Mrs. Tigadi and other family members of Professor Tigadi, Dr. Chachari, Dr. Subhash, Dr. Vishwanath Korvi, Dr. Purushottam Bang, Dr. Ramakant Kulkarni, Dr. Anupama, faculty members from various institutions and universities, distinguished guests from various walks of life, students and friends. A favorite quote that I like to recall here is, a person's memories are their private library. A person's memories are our private library. And memories keep coming back and forth. in our conscious and subconscious mind, when we are active, and in our sleep. Some people make such an impact on us that it lasts for a lifetime. 3 people who have made deep and lasting impacts on me are my father S. Venkatram, socialist ideologue who stood by the principles until his last. The second person is Mr. Ratan Tata, with whom I have had a one-to-one interaction and a personal correspondence that I cherish for a lifetime. And the third is Professor C.B. Tigadi, our beloved guru, economics professor, and an able institution builder and administrator. On 12th August, Professor was in my dream. And I remember he shook hands with me. And this was probably a harbinger of things to happen, because on 16th, I got a call from Dr. Chechudi inviting me to deliver this Professor C.B. Tigadi Memorial Endowment lecture. And here I am with all of you. So thank you, Dr. Chechudi, for inviting me to deliver a lecture and giving me this topic, role of ethics in public life, which is close to my heart, an outcome of my father's influence, and a subject close to Professor Tigadi as well. Britannica defines ethics as the discipline concerned with what is morally good and bad, and morally right and wrong. The term is also applied to any system or theory of moral values or principles. Public life is not just about politics. It includes everyone connected with all the 4 pillars of our democracy, namely legislature, judiciary, executive, and media, corporate companies in public or private sector, in any operational area, educational institutions, hospitals, sports business, religious institutions, NGOs, and includes everything other than what can strictly be termed as private. So if you are in public life, you must take the right decisions at the right time and the right manner. Ethics is a guiding force for us to tell the truth or keep promises, providing accountability between the public and the administration. So is there a framework or set of principles to help us make the right decisions and create positive impacts? There is. Often this is described as the 7 principles of public life, which are selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, and leadership. We very commonly associate corruption as a consequence of lack of ethics in public life. Corruption is the act of unfairly or illegally influencing a decision-making process through the giving or receiving of a benefit. It can be for the person making the decision or a third party or parties connected to the decision maker. Like most things, the basis of corruption is greed or desire, which begins first in the mind and then manifests in behavior and actions. And the driving force is money, fame, control, power, etc. I would like to demystify a myth that corruption is mainly in politics and governance. I think we do a kind of disservice to politicians when we think and talk about only them as symbols of corruption. Corruption is very integral to every institution of our society. But unfortunately for us, corrupt people are also very powerful with money and control. It's not easy to fight. I'm sure all of us have dealt with corruption in our own ways, either fighting it or often succumbing to it, because it is not easy. Let me share 2 examples or experiences from non-political sector. This happened about 10 years back. I had just come from Dubai, I guess, when a very progressive IAS officer took over as a BBMP commissioner. And he constituted a cell for reporting any issues related to BBMP. And a few days before, the road leading to our apartment was asphalted, and already potholes were reappearing in a week. Nothing new. I shot off a mail to the BBMP cell with images of poor quality of the road, explaining that the ratios of the mix were faulty. Immediately, someone called me from BBMP and said, we will investigate and we thank you for bringing this to our notice. A few hours later, I got a call from the BBMP engineer, not to assure me of further investigation or to explain. You will be shocked to know he called to take me to task for reporting directly to commissioner, and went on to explain what all services were extended to our apartment and how ungrateful I was. The contract for asphalting our roads in the area was for 80 lakhs, but the contractor actually got 35. So obviously the contractor had done the work according to the money he received. And this is what happens in most road contracts and explains why our roads are what they are, ridden with potholes. Sadly, and with a clear distraction of focus, very unfortunate that in Bangalore, the courts, the judiciary, and the ministry, everyone talks about pothole management and not how we should build roads guaranteed to be free from potholes. See how the policy and governance shifts, the focus gets shift over a period of time. Another example from a corporate life, we all feel often that corporate things are very different. I was in a very senior position in this company. One day I was traveling and I was staying in a hotel. I happened to get into a steam room of this hotel. And as I entered, somebody was already there. The man was already there and we started talking. The moment he came to know the name of my company, he became furious. In fact, he said, oh, that's the same company where that rascal so-and-so works. I was shocked for two reasons. One, we were very reputed in the external world. And I believed it was true internally too. The person targeted by this business person was a senior colleague, although from a different functional area. I told this person to give me more details so I can escalate it to the higher levels. And quite reluctantly, he gave me some details. He was not hoping something will happen. In right earnest, I took it up with the CEO and he told me to share details with another senior colleague. Although I did what was suggested, I could see nothing happened in the matter. I realized much later that there was a strong possibility of corruption involving more than one person. So corruption is in every sector of society, although government level is what hurts us the most. So what are the costs and consequences of lack of ethics? I want to share a few slides showing a performance on some key parameters. Are you able to see my screen?
No, not yet, sir.
Okay. I think you have to do something on a host disabled participant screen sharing. Can you
So just 1 minute, sir. Right.
Yeah.
Vamshi, you're there? Hello, Vamshi, please check. Please check the screen sharing option for sir.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Vidyadhar sir, check man. Sir,
Is it clear?
now is it done?
Let me check.
Yes, sir.
No, it's still the same screen is there. Host disabled participant screen
Okay,
share.
okay, okay. One second. One
Yeah.
second.
Madam, there is a screen share. You click on screen share.
Yes, sir. It is not happening. It is coming as disabled. Now,
All participants from your end, actually. That is actually I am unable to do it from my end.
I will check. I will check.
If you're not able to do it, let me know. I can
There is a
manage.
screen sharing is there, right? Just click on that screen share.
Yeah, I know, I know.
Hello.
Yeah, are you able to see now?
Hi, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, yes. Sir.
Yeah. I'm just showing a few performance parameters. And these are the 4 pillars of democracy. I just want to mention here some of the issues, very common issues. We are all aware of it. So I just want to highlight that the legislature is the weakest link. If legislature is set right, I think rest of the things can be taken care. Now, these are just a few slides to put things in perspective. India is the 68th most competitive nation in the world out of 140 countries. This is 2019 World Economic Forum. And I would assume that, we should be at least in the top 20, for example. That's where we need to move. Because for an emerging country like India, I think we need to get there. This is how easy it is to do business in India. We must acknowledge here that there's a lot of improvement. There's no doubt about it. We can feel the improvement also, not necessarily by the graph. But we are still ranked 63, and I do hope we sustain this progress, and get into the top 10 or top 20. Our GDP growth is not something that is very great, I would say. And we can see here, GDP growth rate is about 5-6%. Of course, different institutions and different government agencies can quote different figures, but I think everything falls between roughly around 5 to 7%. 7 also is not there. I think it's around 6.5, I guess. So a few years back, I met one very leading, well-known Indian economist from US. Whether it is possible for a country like India to grow in double digits. Because when we do about 6%, 7%, 8%, we seem to be elated and very happy about it. Somehow personally, I feel it's not the right level. And I asked this person, who is a very well-known economist, whether it is possible to aim and achieve a growth of 12-13% by managing our agriculture, industries, and services sector much more efficiently than what we are able to do now. And he said it's definitely possible. So the current growth rate, even if it reaches about 7-8%, I feel is not adequate and definitely needs to be accelerated. And unemployment continues to be a concern. We're showing the figure is showing is about 7%. I think between 7 to 10% roughly is where we stand. And this slide talks about today's discussion, what is relevant to today, and where we stand in terms of corruption. And we seem to be 85th least corrupt nation out of 180 countries. I think some countries like New Zealand, Sweden Denmark are right at the top, I mean the least corrupt nations. And I don't think there is something that we can say we have done very well. So this is a real issue that we need to tackle. I just, while doing some work for this lecture, I just happened to come across this Times of India headline, which is talking about India losing 100 crores to banking fraud every day. Which means what? Which means every citizen is paying about 300 rupees a year towards losses due to banking fraud. I mean, every citizen. Shockingly, this is a much reduced figure than what it was earlier. I mean, this is a, I mean, in retrospect, this is something that we have achieved. And that is every citizen is incurring or paying about 300 rupees indirectly every year for banking frauds alone. So as we may observe, our achievements on various fronts, including GDP, per capita income, which has taken 75 long years to reach this level, can only be considered very average. And in hindsight, some of the policy directions in the initial decades post-independence, especially the thrust on public sector units, has backfired. As we know, the cost we have incurred is very huge in terms of accumulated losses. Roughly 2,000 years ago, it seems, one of our greatest economists, Kautilya, wrote Arthashastra, a complete work dealing with governance. And I was surprised, and some of you may as well be surprised to know that he devoted a chapter on corruption. Because of large-scale corruption involving politicians, bureaucrats, and businessmen, a huge parallel economy is built. Now it's anybody's guess how much it is. When I was trying to check, I always got a figure 50%, 60%, something like that. Although we often speak very high of our rich legacy, culture, and heritage, the moot point is, what did we learn and implement from Kautilya's Arthashastra or Dharma Shastra from Bhagavad Gita? And as I said earlier, unemployment continues to bother us, 8-10%. And there is, we are not talking about underemployment here. We're only talking of unemployment. And a large section of our youth from rural and semi-urban areas are unemployed. And therefore, a significant human resource is available, which can be tapped for very productive uses. The issue is not just about low growth rates of development. The benefits of development or the outcome of development is not distributed in a fair and equitable manner across all sections of our society. And therefore, there's a very strong case to correct and uplift the quality of living of the poorest. We cannot eliminate corruption by making harsh laws or raiding corrupt people's homes and offices alone. We need a more sustained battle against corruption, backed by good governance. There are other key issues related to governance as well. There are huge write-offs of loans, uncontrolled subsidies, freebies during elections, all of which cost a huge sum of money, which indirectly belongs to us, the citizens. I believe such lectures, panel discussions serve the purpose only when it makes an impact and brings about even marginal, isolated changes. Apart from this, is there something that can bring in slow, steady, sustainable changes? I think there is. I shall devote some time to talk about a project very dear to me, which I believe can become a catalyst of change. When I returned from Dubai after 30 years of corporate life in 2010, the idea was to do something concrete and contribute to our society. I had some informal invites to join politics My father is very highly respected even today. And so there was some informal invites to join politics. And there was some pressure to seriously consider, because people said somebody from Venkatram family has to continue. And I mentioned to earlier that my father is very highly respected. A lot of people at the national level as well as at the state level. But I was completely against the idea of joining politics, as I was not confident of bringing about a change in the way politics was being practiced by getting into a party. And further, politics in general is being looked down upon. And I was concerned about loss of personal reputation by getting actively into it. So I didn't want to get into politics or into a political party, but wanted to and still want to take some initiative which can be a catalyst of change. Because although corruption is massive, not all of India's problems are due to corruption alone. We have issues of attitude, skills, and knowledge deficiencies as well amongst bureaucrats and politicians. So such deficiency results into poor national performance and projects as a nation in very poor light. So my idea was to do something which adds to knowledge in the area of development and administration, job-specific skills, and attempting a correction in attitudes of people in politics and governance. So after many months of introspection, I came up with this project, which I'm going to discuss now, which I then called it as Indian Institute of Change. Of course, the names can be different, but the change I wanted to highlight. So Indian Institute of Change, or it can be called Indian Institute of Political Affairs or Indian Institute of Public Administration or anything like that. So while coming up with this idea, I kept some factors in mind, such as the Indian society has lost or losing the value system. Politicians as a breed are looked upon negatively, and politics as a profession is unable to attract educated youth. For example, even with all my background and all the invites, I didn't want to get into it for the same reason. And even those who are getting into politics now are coming with the wrong value system and motives because of absence of even role models. And India, with all efforts, we still have a poor image outside. It might have improved, but still there is so much of scope for improvement. And corruption in India still ranks very high, and poor infrastructure and red tapes are issues to be still tackled. The next point I was considering, or it came to our mind even today, the same, that the profile of our politicians today is that they have a lot of greed and desire to make quick money to last for generations. They think of politics as an investment with high ROI. And in general, they have poor education, grooming, knowledge, attitude. I'm saying in general. Given this background, what should be our vision and mission? I think our vision should be to build a new India, healthy, economically strong, united, and living in harmony. And we can achieve this by following a mission of building, managing, and providing resources to youth and prepare them to play active and effective role as citizens and political workers. So how do we do it? I envisage a solution to build a world-class institution on the lines of IITs and IIMs, but which are mass available, mass accessible, through which we attract youth to a career in public life, a career with respect and a source of livelihood. We provide knowledge and skills to political workers already in politics, also work on building ethics, morals, and attitude of the political community, provide need-based training to elected members of panchayat level and higher, train and equip government officials and volunteers for assisting electoral and developmental work. Like this, there are a lot of things which can be done once the infrastructure is in place. And we need to create that infrastructure. And initially it can operate from another campus of an existing institute or university. And eventually, of course, own campus can come up and have qualified but limited and passionate faculty but have a vast guest faculty drawn from various sources, including defense, IAS and IPS officers, industry leaders, prominent political leaders at the highest level with impeccable credibility, economists and historians, international leaders, and other experts. I have also thought of various courses and programs and projects. In other words, it can also be thought of as revenue streams, a diploma in political affairs, postgraduate diploma in political affairs, and graduate and postgraduate degrees, now that it's possible with NEP, training programs, seminars and workshops, consultancy projects, research projects, publishing activities, international assignments in neighboring countries. A lot of things are possible. I have done some initial work to identify the course content, pedagogy, ratio of theory and practical way of learning, target audience, initial promotions, how we should be able to attract students. And this project was actually conceived about 10 years back. And I vigorously tried to take this forward then. I first met 4 key political leaders in Karnataka, all of whom had good credibility and known to me at a personal level. They're still available and very active. The idea was to see their response, whether this is workable and any of them can be motivated to take the lead. So I met these leaders separately. In fact, 2 of them actually came home to ensure privacy. And all of them liked the project, appreciated my initiative as well, and said it is workable. However, none of them could take the lead to start the initiative for many reasons. Next, I tried to tap leading industrialists. I wrote to 2 very well-known industrialists in Bangalore with very high credibility and also resources. Unfortunately, there was no response and I couldn't meet them. Next, I wrote to Mr. Ratan Tata and seeing my futile efforts for months, my wife said, you seem to be wasting your time. But I got a quick response from Mr. Tata on the same day. I think I wrote in the afternoon or 1:30, 2 o'clock. And by evening, he replied to me. And what he said was, as he was expected to be out of town, he replied asking me to meet 2 board members of the group. Both of them are Tata Industries. And Tata Industries is the parent of the major company where all new projects have to be taken to. So he also, Mr. Tata also marked copies to them saying that when Pradeep is here, you please meet him and discuss this project, because I had mentioned about a nation building project and all that. And so they also replied to me and said, we'll meet at so-and-so time in Bombay House. So I went to Bombay and met these Tata stalwarts. And these people grilled me for half a day, asking me all sorts of relevant questions. One of the key questions was, how would the passing students get into election politics? How would they fund the election? How would students or candidates fight the black money menace in elections? And when everything was answered, they asked me, how many students from the institute can actually win and get into legislature or parliament? I said, progress in elections will not be easy and it will be slow. But fighting elections disseminates information and spreads awareness, the benefits of which we must acknowledge. And it will prompt voters to ask the right questions to candidates. And even a few victories, let's say 10 people getting elected to a legislature or parliament, is adequate to begin with. As we know, a vocal minority is more effective than a silent majority. And I can assure this vocal minority can be more effective as an opposition than the current situation, whether it is current situation or even then. I vividly remember this as one of the toughest interviews or discussions or debates I ever had. Since I was very passionate about this project, I was able to answer all their queries satisfactorily. I think some couple of hours, they had no more questions to ask and I had nothing else to convince them. Finally, I was told by these 2 very senior directors of the Tata Group to meet and convince the director of TIS, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, and subject to his concurrence, the project would be approved to start as an extension initially in TIS. In other words, the institute could come up in Bombay. And Now I regret this. Personally, that was not acceptable to me at that time. I had just come from Dubai then, and I was well connected in Karnataka to start the project, and I'm still hopeful that it can still happen. Even now, I am keen to get this project take off from Karnataka. So I didn't go to TIS. I got too busy with the consultancy project. I started teaching in 2 institutions, busy in writing. I got back to my routine. So let me give an idea of how large is the target market, just to imagine. As of January 2019, there are 630 Jilla Panchayats, 6,614 block panchayats, and 2,53,163 gram panchayats in India. There are currently more than 3 million elected representatives, of which more than 1 million are women, for panchayats at all levels. And if you include others like corporators, councillors, MLAs, MLCs, MPs, they may not be for a full-fledged program, but they are still our audience. It's more than 3 million people serving various offices in India at any given point of time. You add another 3 million towards people who are serving the same constituencies in previous elections. We have over 6 million. In addition, we have millions of students. We just spoke in the morning, just before we started about our students and there's no career, for example. So we have millions of students and youth representatives who are unemployed, and those who are political workers but not in any position currently are in the past. So I presume about 10 million people can be a potential market, if not more. And this is not to estimate market potential or estimate the revenue, but to emphasize that the market is very large. So keeping your mind on this institute building project aside for a while, I'll just share a few thoughts on what we can do as individuals. We all know everybody has to contribute, individuals, society, community, government, and everybody has to contribute. Just a few ideas here to digress and come back. So here are some of my thoughts. The most important area where we can contribute as citizens is to ensure that we vote in every election. It's a responsibility of every citizen to vote, and we must exercise it. Our average voting is around 60%, let's say, and anyone or a party which gets majority from 60% of the votes gets elected. This means a candidate usually wins with about 25 to 30% of the total electorate. And hence, in our democracy, a government is elected by about 25 to 30% of the electorate only. This means, by default, every government is minority by this logic. This may sound like every government is a minority government, and hence it is necessary to change this and make every government stronger by compulsorily voting. Secondly, when we vote, we must vote consciously, considering credibility and competency and not caste and creed. Thirdly, a lot of government-related work has actually gone online, in addition to being offline as well. For example, income tax, RTOs, sub-registrar's office, corporation, municipality, and many others have online services, and the systems are working. Recently, I had to apply for a new khata, and I could do it online without moving from my place, and I got it in about a month. There are 2 stages there, but everything happened online, and I got it in about a month. Since it is system-driven, there is no human interface, and therefore the possibility of bribing or somebody being corrupted is not there. So let's move online, and more importantly, let us also assist others around us. I mean, those who can't do it online themselves, and help build digital India. In this regard, the scheme of DBT, the direct benefit transfer, is a very good initiative by the government and has eased the life of a lot of people. Fourth, let's ask a question. Are we also spreading corruption? I think we need to ask, because sometimes we are either helpless in a situation or we break some rules. One very common example is driving. It could be signal jump or overspeeding or wrong parking, or one common response by a lot of people is getting away by giving a bribe. Certainly, it is possible to drive without breaking a rule. And even if something goes wrong, let's pay the fine and take a receipt. Because all of us are talking about corruption and we must contribute in small ways. I've been driving for about 40 years, including 7 in Dubai, where the laws are very strict. I'm proud to say that I have never paid a fine or a bribe because the mindset is just to follow the traffic rules. The fifth point, what we can do as individuals is to become ambassadors of ethics by spreading awareness, motivate and help fellow citizens, whether it is helping them to get their things online or ensuring everyone votes. I'm not getting into too many ideas of what we can do. One, all of us are aware what we can do or what we should be doing. And second, I believe it's more effective in considering just a few things and doing it completely rather than having a long list of 10, 15 things and ending up not doing it. So in governance, we have several institutions and laws to fight corruption, and the intentions are right. But there could be 2 more laws that can do wonders to a society. One is voting to be made compulsory. It is not going to happen just by conscious process. There must be also a law. So we need a law to make voting compulsory. And second is the right to recall an elected member for breach of trust. That is either promises not kept or being involved in unethical, immoral or corrupt activities. Let's remember a lot of black money, it could be 50, 60% of actual GDP goes into fighting elections. And we need electoral reform to stop the menace of freebies and pink notes. This will be a crucial factor in reducing corruption. Whether such laws will come through, I'm still optimistic it can. I'm not sure whether it will happen in our time. And then what's needed is to use these institutions and laws effectively in a time-bound manner to get results. So let me conclude this lecture by coming back to my pet project, Indian Institute of Change, and leave you with the concept of the institute in your mind. So I need to share the screen again. So these are some questions we need to ask ourselves. So all these questions are fine, but the issue is, can we do something about it? And this is a quote which is always runs in my mind. So first thing first, like we always do, what is the vision? Vision is to build a new India, economically strong, united, equitable distribution. And how do we do that? Is to build, manage, and provide resources to our youth, preparing them to play active and effective roles as political workers. Though this institute, I am emphasizing on governance, that is into politics and executive. It can be used anywhere. It can be used everywhere, in fact. And the change process is not going to be easy. It's going to be a slow process because we have to start at the grassroots level. So, but over a period of time, we can definitely work towards a better India. And how do we do that? Of course, we need to build database, communicate to you, attract them, educate, train, and equip them, identify role models, inculcate patriotism, quality human resources are needed at elections at all levels, and ensure entry of educated and trained people into legislature and parliament, even as vocal minority. And change the image of politics and politicians over a period of time, of course. So the plan I have envisaged is to build a world-class institution to attract, educate, and get political workers. As I mentioned, though the emphasis here is on politics and political workers, when trained, people can get into any institution in the country, in any sector. There's so many, practically every sector, these skills would be required and will be utilized. Of course, the name can be different. I'm calling it Indian Institute of Change for a Better Tomorrow. Yeah. So I remember Professor Peter Drucker when he said that profit is a necessary cost for survival and growth. And hence, if the project IIC takes off, we'll break even in a maximum of 5 years. And we'll run it as a non-partisan institute and very professionally, transparently, and become a role model of an institute. It can be called Indian Institute of Change or Indian Institute of Politics or Indian Institute of Public Administration or anything which is appropriate. And the benefits can get into all sectors of the society. So I am now giving this project another push and looking forward to collaborate with institutes, universities, or anyone with passion for nation building. I'm aware change for the better will be slow, but there will be change and positive outcomes. Because of this initiative, as well as various other initiatives, some of our well-meaning leaders are already taking. We have many distinguished guests here. Through online streaming, we have stalwarts experienced in institution building, businessmen with committed social responsibility, thought leaders, and many of my batchmates and other Kimsites. I request everyone here to think about this project with an open mind and get back to me with your feedback about the idea of an institute. I have the framework of the project ready. I had no time to get into and show all the details, but I have done considerable work on that, including some promotional plans and all that. And I can discuss it with any institute or individuals. So thank you all for your time, and let's hope for a better tomorrow. And let's build a new India, healthy, economically strong, equitable in distribution, united and living in harmony. So I look forward to your suggestions, feedback, and interactions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Pradeep Kumar,
Yes.
you have raised a very important issue related to especially the institution building.
Yeah.
And I have a suggestion being from KIMS.
Yeah.
And Dr. Chachudi, I'm sure, would also agree on this.
Yeah.
We are in the process of setting up a new campus or a building, for which we have been searching for some, funding from the government. We have tried CSR funding. We have yet to try, and other places. The university is very clear that you get us X amount, we'll match the X amount.
Okay.
Now, being an alumni as well as a past director of the institute, I have a suggestion that you can think of setting up this institute at Tausali Institute, in the sense you take it up as a new building by itself.
Yeah.
And set it up,
Yeah.
and we can have the process under NEP itself to
Okay.
make sure that we include a routine program also.
Yeah.
And have a 90% or 95% of the programs meant for the practitioners, the politicians, the Gram Panchayat that you're talking about,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
we can always do.
Yeah.
In fact, if that is okay as in principle,
Yes.
maybe I'll have a word with our current Vice Chancellor, Professor Gudsi, and
Okay.
maybe we can invite you with a plan and we can propose how to go about this whole thing, right?
That will be very nice, Dr. Subhash.
Surely. I only wish this could have been discussed about 5-10 years ago, maybe at that time with us. When we were there in the institute, when Professor Chachri also was there, we have made sure that it pushed a little faster.
No,
But
in fact,
nevertheless, we will
in fact, this is the
definitely.
first time. In fact, this is the first time I'm talking about this project in open.
Very nice.
For whatever reasons. But I would be very happy if it can come through Kausali Institute in Karnataka University under your guidance and Dr. Chachidi, nothing like it.
Definitely.
I don't mind.
Explain.
Yeah, I don't mind. It starts in a small way and we build it over a period of time.
Surely.
Yeah.
And the Tatas, as you know, are very strong proponents of the same values that you are talking about. Yes. Definitely it is. Now, on another note, just a couple of seconds, please, if you don't mind. The point is, all the institutions that we have, the 4 pillars that we have, are fairly okay. Yeah. In terms of the relevance for the machinery to function. Yeah. If you look back a little more, the executive, that is basically the administrative service people, the police people, and the foreign service people, and all these people that we talk of, are the ones who are supposed to be the conscience keepers of the nation. And they are the ones who are supposed to do the check and balance whenever the political decisions are taken. I thought that was the purpose with which it was there. Yeah. Unfortunately, maybe about a decade ago, or maybe 2 decades ago, the unholy nexus between the politicians and the bureaucrats have failed us there, right? And there is a very, very big divide even in the IAS or the machinery bureaucracy of who stands this side, who stands that side. Ultimately, they all fall on one side finally, because I'm privy to a lot of discussions that these people have, especially in the last few years. They would have been honest for about 25 years or 30 years, or just in the last few years, there are unscrupulous people who coax them to becoming corrupt as a standby for the next generation kind of a thing. So many of them end up doing like this, right? So I have another 2 years or 3 years in my service, right? So I would like to do something for my generation. So they end up becoming corrupt at the end. This is for us a small portion of people, but a large portion of people right in the beginning itself get into it. And that's okay. That's one part of it. So I believe that the Mussoorie Institute should be doing much more work related to this, and how they do it, I don't know. It's left to their intellectuals as such. But I'm really more worried about one thing that you said about the political interference in all walks of life is really stretching to dangerous levels. Yeah. I'm very openly stating this with all of you that it has entered into the education system in such a bad fashion, where we thought that the value system can be inculcated amongst our students. Like I remember, if there is 25 years ago or something like that, when I talk to my students, I'm very strong on ethics. I'm very strong on honesty, very strong being anti-corrupt, and very strong being on that you should only do your work. That's it, right? When we are very strong on those fronts, now over a period of time, to take my own university, if the professors are appointed by unfair means, and another 40 years of that institution is gone to dogs. Now, this I'm telling you very openly, but I'm telling you it's not to be told openly. The point is that every university today is being riddled with corruption. Every appointments in the university, including the vice chancellors, are measured by money. Where are we heading? There is no hope for this kind of a function to work. So there has to be a major change that has to come. Electoral process reforms, doubtful if it will ever get through. We have to wait and see what will happen on that. Yeah. But as you said very, very nicely, maybe the Mussoorie Institute and these administrative institutions are the ones where they can do a lot more. And I think this connecting the politics with the bodies like IPS, why should the police service be so much into the whole thing? Like we talked about revenue service and all that. I think there's no end to it. The point is, yes, your point idea is well thought of. And I only would like to say that moral science, which we used to learn when we were very young, I think we need to get it back in place as far as schools are concerned. I like what Abdul Kalam once mentioned, that he would like to always talk to small kids And small kids, he would tell them, go ask your dad if he took bribe, right? So imagine if my son or my daughter comes and asks me, Dad, did you take bribe? It'll hurt me more, right? So that is where you should bring about a change, I feel. The change should be brought about at the next generation of the people, and in which case your institute definitely will be lovely. I mean, these are just my few quick thoughts on your thing, but I'll definitely keep in touch with you about this Institute of Change. Definitely.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. And first of all, thank you, Pradeep, sir, for bringing up such a pertinent topic which everybody discusses about, but nothing comes through in a tangible manner. And one more thing is we have to be really thankful because you have really emphasized the role of educational institutions in initiating this change and how we start and how we take on this additional responsibility. Thank you so much. And of course, for Subhash sir to add on to these points and how exactly this collaborative effort can really yield results. Thank you, sir, for that. Sir, as the guest of honor for this very important topic of role of ethics in public life, what I request you to please add your views and insights on that, sir. Subhash sir, may I request you to please take over?
Is anybody else going to speak?
Yes, after that, we have Vishwanath Kurvi sir, and Ramakant sir, who will be sharing their experiences in very briefly. And then we have the presidential remarks, and then Chachri sir would like to conclude that is the flow, sir.
To begin with, I would like to remember with a lot of pride, respect to Professor C.B. Tigadi, the founder director of Kausali Institute of Management Studies, who was really that way a symbol of whatever ethics that you're speaking about. So very rightly chosen topic, and for which I should like to congratulate Dr. Chachti for having chosen the topic. Ethics was very, very strong as far as Professor Tigadi was concerned. And I would like to definitely pay my remembrances, remember him for long. So sad that we lost him some years ago. And of course, my own professor, Dr. Bhagwati Prasad, was also there very much. He comes from a business family, and he was very much in touch with all the businessmen around and things like that. But definitely he spoke about a lot of value system related to how Kausali Institute has remained a very, very important institute against corruption. He would cite many cases, many instances where money was brought in for getting admitted, getting some students admitted, and how they had to throw them out. And all the time they stood tall, both Professor Tigadi and Professor Bhagwati Prasad stood very tall in the institute or in the university, and nobody could question them because they know that their integrity and honesty and truth was so strong. You cannot, like I'll tell you, if you're a very honest person and you're a very highly integrated person in terms of a lot of integrity, then people would not take you lightly. They will have a lot of respect for you, and it comes automatic. It's the aura that comes around you. It's like, in the God's photograph, you have an aura behind it. It's something like that. You get an aura around you by your behavior that you have been doing for so long. And that is what protects you. And that is what gives you the image and respect that you really, really are. And that way, I think these two people definitely stood very tall, and they brought the institute to such heights as what we are seeing. And that's why I felt that the proposal of Mr. Pradeep Kumar for Indian Institute of Change, Kausali Institute would be an ideal one, and that will be KIMS 2.0, I feel. That's the best way to look at KIMS as such. Now, having said that, I myself, I don't remember having read ethics as a subject in my institute, right? My management institute, that was at Ahmedabad. I never studied a specific course called business ethics or ethics, but it became a course later in course of time. And we taught those courses in even in KIMS and MBA and all that. I don't know whether Pradeep Kumar during his time, he may not have had this subject called ethics or something like that.
No, like you said, moral science in schools.
Schools, exactly. Moral science in school was something which, though it had a the colonial tinge in it, but we should have our own Indian tinge on this particular part and bring back moral science somehow or the other in the schools. But definitely at higher education, even at MBA level also, teachers can make a lot of difference. It can make an impact on the students' mind as to how they should proceed as far as their life is concerned. It depends on how you are. And I know many students come back to us and say, sir, that whatever you said has made a huge impact on us, and therefore we remember that. And if after 10 years, 15 years, they come back and say they remember, which means definitely a teacher can make an impact. And I think teachers should spend some time in trying to inculcate what is good practice and ethical practice now. This apart, right? But yes, we have tried to search for various books and various cases related to ethics and bring it back to the classroom. But what I would like to state very simple from a simplistic scientific point of view. I don't know whether to call it scientific or not. Ethics is the result. Ethical behavior, for example, is a result. Is a result of what? Is a result of certain latent characteristics that are there in you, inside you personally. Something latent is there. And what is latent? One thing is my value system. Value system is latent. It can exhibit itself in an ethical manner or in unethical manner. So what is latent, what is inside me is definitely a value system. So for us to be ethical, it's very important to build a value system in us so that we can display ethical behavior. That's one. Another thing that is latent is very much related to our own knowledge, our experience and knowledge that we have. Over a period of time, like I was telling you about the IAS officers, for example, for 30 years span of his, 25 years has been honest. Last 5 years, he becomes corrupt. And this has been repeatedly, I've seen many cases for reasons I don't know. I think family reasons, whatever, but suddenly they feel, oh, that IAS officer is worth 100 crore or 200 crore. I am only worth 1, 2, 4, 5 crores, whatever it is. So I don't know what really drives, but I think that is the memory, or the knowledge that you have, we're talking about. What knowledge that he has accumulated over a period of time, which comes from his transactions that happens in the society, that also can have an effect on his value system and therefore ethical behavior also. So there is knowledge, there is that experience that we talk about, which are latent, and a value system which is latent, which talks about ethical behavior. Now, one of the very important aspects that I came across, what is an ethical choice that you make in life, and what are these things? There's something called, which I loved the point, was that defining moments, you say. You must have come across this term called defining moments. I loved the term, and I'm using it sometimes. What is a defining moment? A defining moment in your decision making is when you have two alternatives and you don't know which one to choose, because both are seemingly okay. Both options are seemingly okay. Now, how would you make a choice there? So the thumb rule that we have is that, which talks about ethical choices in business that they talk about, is choose that option which benefits the most of the people, right? Not the least of the people. So whenever you come across a decision making to be made and you are in a dilemma or in a trilemma where you know that you have 3 options or 2 options, which option do you choose? You choose that option which has the highest impact on the largest number of people, not the smallest number of people. It should not benefit only small. I think in these kinds of choices that you make as far as ethics are concerned is simple. And there are only 2 or 3 things. If I look at myself as a teacher, I've served about 3 decades or something. Have I done justice to my profession? I strongly feel, yes, I have done justice to my profession. Have I made an impact on my students? Yes, I feel I have made a strong impact on my students, right? Now, therefore, if I were to ask now, what therefore does it mean to me? How did I move in how did I make my choices? If you ask, I had very, very simple rules in life. One is whatever Basavana taught us about, Kayakave Kailasa. So which basically means that I do my work sincerely. I don't know anything else. I just know to do my work sincerely. If I do it sincerely, I think I achieve what I want to do. If I work, when I say sincerely, I definitely come across situations where there are dilemmas and trilemmas where you don't know which one to choose. But then you choose which benefits are large. So we do encounter situations in a class, like for example, when you're in a classroom, you're taking a class and only one person is present and 90% of them are not present. What do? Do you continue the class? Do you punish those 90 people and all that? Now, there are cases when I try to apply this rule and I'm in a fix. I don't know how to apply a rule. I know that the one person should be definitely rewarded for having stood by and stayed there. But there are 90 people who have not followed. So, but there are a large number of people. So how do I make my choice there? That is where you have these ethical choices that you have to make in life. There's no doubt. But one thing is for sure, if you are very sincere about your job, everybody will follow you. Everybody. And I think there is something called a natural justice, which is there in your mind. I remember a baby, if you talk about small children, they don't know this thing, these big words like ethics and all that. But you ask them to choose the right thing and you'll find they make such beautiful choices. And they have such beautiful, observations to make and reasons as to why they made the choices. So pure. It's absolutely pure. And that's what I feel is, if you're very, very innocent and you're not clouded with a lot of knowledge, you be very simple in your life and make simple choices, I'm sure you're very, very ethical in your life. So therefore, I think more and more knowledge I get outside, more and more experience I get from outside and third people, my mind becomes more and more corrupt, right? This is something which I have to definitely share with you. And I don't want to share more, but then only thing I can tell you that as a vice chancellor of a university, they come across so many situations where, you are forcing, I can tell you how difficult it is for an educational institution to run under a university system today. It is only because the political interference and corruption is extremely, extremely high. Therefore, I would just like to add just a few points that, yes, I am with you, Pradeep Kumarji, in as far as building up an institute for change is concerned. Yes, but I think it will be a very long way to go. I feel some major electoral reforms are required, which I hope the current political dispensation will be able to take up. And I hope that we adopt some kind of a presidential form of government wherein actually, people who are experts in those areas are given the portfolios required. I'm sure a lot of change will happen by that. I'm sure a lot of change will happen by that. You go talk to a politician and tell him about being non-corrupt or something. We'll say, system. They will laugh at you actually. And you feel left out in the whole thing. You don't understand what is really wrong. Are you outside the country or outside the world? Why are these people saying that being honest is itself means that you are out of this world? You're not fit to be working in this country or something like that. I really don't understand whether we are older generation when we say that we have to be honest. No, because I can not tell you the names of people, but my own people means my own family people. They would tell me that, look, if I pay this much, the work gets done. So, Dad, why don't you pay? I said, no, it's not the way to get things done. Then he feels very bad. My dad is bad because he's not getting things done. Just a small amount of money to be paid and the things will be done. Now, if it has entered at such level where my own people, kith and kin, are going to talk like that this fellow will not pay money, so his work will not get done, how are you going to correct the system? It's only possible at school level. I feel very sorry if at school level people are not taught basics, moral sciences, to be honest, to be non-corrupt and all that, and love and affection. If it is taught at that level, at least love you teach. Nothing else is required actually. You just teach love of your countrymen, love of people around you, and love. If you have love for the people from whom you're taking bribe, at least you will not take bribe. So that, one mantra is enough. If you just use love itself is enough to bring about a lot of change. That's what the gurus are also talking about all the time. But I feel that there is a need, and I strongly feel that the administrative machinery needs a big, big overhaul. Number one, police system has to be cut off, and this civil public works department, it's high time that they stop construction and start giving it to other bodies and things. I'm not saying that the private are not corrupt. Private are corrupt, but that does not affect a larger population of the country. That's why it's okay in a way. Not okay actually, but in some way at least it is better to some extent. But I tell you today it's impossible unless until you bring about a major reforms and things. But I think therefore having this kind of a discussion is very good. We should have more and more discussions like that. Pradeep Kumar ji, I'll definitely take up a lead with you on this, and let us see how best we can connect with more and more institutions and talk about. There are a lot of people like us who are in the at places which matter, who are seriously concerned about the status also. Not that it's so hopeless a situation, but yes, it takes some time. I believe that. And I once again thank you all for giving us an opportunity to speak, and especially Anupam Malgi and Dr. Bang for having taken the lead and organizing this particular thing. To RV Institute, definitely great. And as you said, the permanent fixture, should I use the word, Dr. Ramakant Kulkarni ji also is a nice person with whom I always share a lot of things with him. But he also knows what is happening as far as educational institutions are concerned. But yes, I think I am very sad that politics has entered into education, should not have entered into the university system. It's very bad. To be very honest with you, when a minister speaks to a potential vice chancellor candidate saying that you have 200 appointments to make, so you get about 10 crores or something on that, of 10, 20 crores. So why can't you give some 5 crores to the party? Now, if this is the way you start appointing a vice chancellor, where will the vice chancellor go? He'll end up in becoming like, we have a joke around saying that earlier vice chancellors had become consulting agents, contractors, because they were more interested in buildings and all that, like the PWA. Today, vice chancellors are forced to become placement agencies, because that is the only way they can survive. And education minister is very happy to have a vice chancellor who is just an S-man kind of a thing. I don't want, I'm sometimes being, and that is a bit dangerous thing also to me. But nevertheless, I have to speak the truth. So I'll speak the truth. Doesn't matter, whatever it is. So thank you all once again for giving me an opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for those words of wisdom and experience. The beautiful part was how we develop the latent factors, the value system, so that, it gets reflected in our ethical behavior. So that is something which we as teachers should take on these responsibilities, walk the extra mile, and see how the younger generation will imbibe these kind of value systems. Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure listening to your words, sir.
Thank you.
So may I now request Dr. Vishwanath Kurvi, sir, to briefly give his views on this particular topic, sir.
Very good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Professor Chachdi, former Dean and Director of Kausali Institute, and Professor Subhash, former Dean and Director of Kausali, and also former Vice Chancellor, the Krishna Deva University, Ballari, and a resource person of today's talk on ethics, the role of ethics in public life, Professor Mr. Pradeep Kumar, and the Director of RV Institute of Management, and my good friend, Professor Bang, and my own colleague, Dr. Ramakant Kulkarni, and host for the day, Madam Anupama, and all the participants of this particular session. In fact, it was a great thought in the memory of a great personality, Professor Tigadi. At the outset, I would like to bow my head in great memory of Professor Tigadi for his contribution to this part of the state, as well as for the fraternity of management. In fact, he is the pioneer in setting up of this Kausali Institute of Management Studies at Karnataka University. Those days, when there was no any clarity how to set up a management institution, whether it has to be private institution, it has to be government institution. If it is in a government, again in a university department, it should also be like a part of other departments operating in the university. At that point in time, by framing a separate statute for establishing a management school, and coming up with their own the bylaws and all of that, and taking a special approval from the university and authorities, and the way how he has come out with the institution is a great institution builder. In fact, my association with him it was for a very short duration. Maybe after his retirement, or maybe have started our institution, visited a couple of times to him, and also invited him for a couple of events in our institution. And maybe met him in various conferences and other the important academic exercises. At that time, we always used to have interaction. He used to share his good old memories. Even there are some examples. So he used to invite people from IIMs. In those days, getting a faculty in management was very, very difficult. And whenever he used to get them, many a times he made them to stay in his own home. So he used to drive the car. So he used to go to the railway station and pick the guests and make them to stay with him and get them to the institution, make them to have classes or sessions with the students, and again take care of all of them. Maybe sometimes I heard that he used to bring a kettle of tea or coffee from his home to serve to the guests. So look at the passion, look at the dedication. So that is how an institution builder has to be. So in fact, we maybe doing a small way kind of institution building. Always you should consider a person like Dr. Tigadi as a role models, and at least may not be to that extent, but at least to some extent. So if suppose we follow the principles of Professor Tigadi, that itself is a great contribution and dedication to his service to the nation and this part of this state. In fact, in those days, Kausali was one of the premier institutions. Maybe the students of entire southern India used to come and study in this particular place. Thousands of students were writing the examination for the entrance of the Kausali. And many students, after not getting seats here, maybe for 1 year, second year, then they used to try elsewhere to pursue their management education. And as the day passes, the university system, they started allowing some more private players in the field of management institutions. Like that, ours is also one of the institutions came into existence. So many more institutions. By this time, every year on an average, from Karnataka University, we are able to produce about thousands of MBA grads who are all working in a different corporate of the country. But at the same time, till today, whatever the ups and downs have happened in the field of management education, but till today, under the great leadership of Kausali, the great foundation led by Professor Tigadi, Professor Bhagavati Prasad, Professor Subhash, Professor Chachadi. So the same line, even till today, all the affiliated institutions we are operating with a lot of ethics that we are practicing in our system of management education. So that is how we always pay our tribute to the departed soul, Professor Tigadi. And on this occasion, I thank each one of you for giving me an opportunity to share some of my experience of the good old days of that I spent with Professor Tigadi. Thank you everyone for giving me an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Korvi sir, for bringing out that dimension, what every teacher is required to have. Vidya Dadati Vinayam. I see from what you told is he was an epitome of this particular quality. Thank you so much for your views on that, sir. May I now request Dr. Ramakant Kulkarni sir to please briefly speak about this particular topic, sir. Over to you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Sri Pradeep Kumar, the keynote speaker today, Professor Chachadi, who has been really taking this initiative forward third time. The first one was given by Professor Dikshit, followed by Professor Kalakundrikar, and now you joined that bandwagon of illustrious speakers in the line of endowment lecture. Professor Subhash, who are always in with these ideas. Professor Bang, who has taken the lead role in organizing. Dr. Anupam, you have been coordinating with various people for the last few days. Professor Vishwanath Kori, sir, my own director. It's a matter of pleasure to share some of my thoughts on this occasion, as I have seen Professor Tigadi during my days as a student teacher, kind of a relations what we had, being the student of the earlier batches of Kausali during 79-81 time. My own observations and the feelings have been that those were the days where the student-teacher relations were driven by distance, and the distance always remained. And there was hardly any kind of socializing events and functions that we do as teachers today was happening, and therefore the distance did continue. And this was again exhibited by the behavior of the teachers with the student, the strict behavior, no nonsense kind of maybe attitude here or there. That really took us through. The interactions were not very far rare, rare, only classroom interactions we used to have. And the exposure that the current students have towards the information, which we did not have. And therefore, the teacher was always on the high pedestal. And we revered a teacher because you are a store of knowledge. And we are here to you, listening to you, trying to understand many, many things. Few instances with this great teacher that I spent time with was he was a no nonsense kind of a person, strict in class, well dressed, neat, absolutely ready for his class well before, neatly prepared, and making sure that class happens on time. And one strict rule after the teacher, no student would enter. I think that he followed right through. And that set the kind of the ethics and behavior what we talk about this person. And because he stood on these values, because he stood on these principles, he also made a lot of enemies in the whatever time he had during the university time. But then his own standards he withstood throughout. And on occasions he used to share that he always carried what is known as the resignation letter in his pocket. And he said, I'm ready to quit anytime if the things are not the way that they have to be when it comes to my institute. And always protected the institute from the various maybe onslaughts of the people, various forces, and made sure that institution is built on a very, very strong foundation. And as we see today, this institution, after 40 years, when we look back, imbibes the same principles, same values, and continues to stand on the strong principles, well taken later by next generation of Professor Subhash and Professor Chechri. And that's the kind of roots that is set for all of us. And as teachers of management today, having had the exposure of those systems, we are also equally blessed that those roots are extended to our other institutions where we have worked. Later, when I became a teacher after my industry, during industry days, one or two times we did invite him to speak on a couple of issues, but that was just a few. But then when I became teacher almost 20 years back, and in my previous institution, I did invite him on one or two occasions and felicited him on a Teachers' Day occasion. That was a nice time. And that was a time perhaps maybe the distance was slightly broken. Then on a couple of occasions, I went to his place and I found him, apart from management, his interests were in other different areas. And on one of the occasions when I just spoke to him, he said, I am reading a Marathi poetry by Bharat Tambi, and it is a lot about life. That's where I realized that he is such a multi-person, different kind of a person. Apart from the management, like literature and all, which he used to share on many occasions, in many forums, he also had interest in the literature. And that's how he made his life the rich and a very standing example. A great person that we have seen. Maybe during our student days, we had our own opinion about him. But then we realized after this journey of our own career, we mean that what it means to be a person like him. And definitely, yes, through what we got, we are trying to pass on to our student generation. Great person, a great teacher to be had at any time or any class of students. Once again, my respects to him, having spent time as student and later in the same fraternity. Thank you so much, Dr. Anupama Purushottam for giving me this opportunity and holding this session as a host. Once again, thank you, Pradeep ji, for the excellent issues that you raised. And it's a food for thought for all of us. And definitely as alumni, I think we can do a lot of things. It's nice always to be with you. Thank you so much to all of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for those thoughts. Because when an individual is upholding the value systems to that extent, an individual becomes an institution, because that is how Dr. Tigadi sir has led his life and also has left the legacy for all of us to follow through. Thank you for those thoughts, sir. Can we now move on to the presidential remarks? Dr. Purushottam has presided over. today's
Can I just
session.
add something that here,
Yes, sir.
Dr. Ramakant, for instance, I have seen him, one of the senior most teachers around here, has remained steadfast to the discipline of teachers. I remember his dad, very simple man, so honest, and Ramakant also has stood by that whole thing. And he is the one, whichever institute he goes, he makes sure at least that the teachers, the teaching profession is properly, treated and taken care of. For that, I must place on record, Ramakanji, you're doing a good job.
Thank you so much. Incidentally, we have Professor Dikshit online. I don't know whether it's connected.
I will just check, sir. No, sir.
Anupama, maybe you can request him to come on and share his thoughts.
I will just check, sir. Right now, he is not online. I'll call. So
Okay.
maybe before the concluding remarks, I think.
And if you want to share his views, so
Yes,
let
sir.
us hear him out. So,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Yes, sir. Now, sir has joined. So maybe after your this one, we can ask.
Yeah, it's okay. I will not take much time because
Yes.
I was just listening to my mentors. Subhash sir was my mentor. He was key person who took me into academics and gave me a chance to be the visiting faculty at Kausali Institute of Management Studies way back in 1998, sir. If you can recall, I don't know.
Yeah.
And
Very
I
much.
really,
You're from Australia.
yeah, and started my own unit in Belur industrial area, and parallelly
Yes.
I was more keen into academics, and you all people really, guided me, helped me into getting me into academics. Then I worked with University of Agricultural Sciences, and I also used to work as visiting faculty at KIMS. I really cherish those 3-4 years when I was visiting KIMS, because the kind of students that we had, every simple project in each subject used to be like a thesis. I still recall, because I used to take production and operations management.
Yeah.
And I used to give them a project wherein they have to really work with the company and find a problem and try to solve that problem. And at that point of time, I remember no computers, only few computers in the institution that too were very slow. But they used to get the report typed and used to submit for one subject. Okay, now I'm facing, when I compare them with the current students, these students have everything at their disposal, right? All the information in their pocket, but they're unable to do one project in 1 year. I mean, that really, sometimes make me worry where we are heading. I mean, in the name of technological advancements, is learning is happening or not, right? But anyway, sir, we were really privileged to host this endowment lecture series in the memory of Professor C.B. Tigadi, sir. I mean, I had met him on a couple of occasions. I remember one interaction with all my students in SDM Institute in Dharwad, where we invited him. And I still recall the kind of energy that he brought to the discussion was simply mind-boggling. I mean, he was 74 then, but the enthusiasm, the kind of modulation in his voice and the power in his voice, I still, it kind of reminds me the personality that he was. So really fortunate in a way that we got this chance to host this lecture series. And the keynote address given by Pradeep Kumar sir, my good friend from Bangalore. I mean, amazing. Your insights into the education space and on the ethics front was really good. But the vision that you cherished, I really pray Almighty that one fine day it will become a reality, right? But somewhere, I'm still unable to figure out, I mean, at that point of time, why you didn't met the director of TIS is still bothering me, right? And this would have been the reality, and we would have had many more Kejriwals today, right? And if we would have took that as an opportunity and moved to Mumbai, spoke with the director, created a school of change for that matter, things would have been much better. But anyway, better late than never. Now you got one more anchor here who want to support your vision. And we all know, right, charming leader like Subhash sir, whenever he says something, he really means it, right? So let us work together. And of course, in our own university, that is RV University, we are planning to start a school of public policy, right? So somewhere, I invite you, I will take you to my management, I will take you to the VC, share your vision, share your thoughts, how we can frame the curriculum for that school, for some of the programs offered by that school. That would have been, again, a great value addition. It doesn't have to happen in a big school, right? That will eventually happen anyway. The Subhash sir has, also shown interest. But let's start doing it in a simple way. And there are many universities, I remember, including IIM Bangalore, they have this public policy wing. Even the MIT, World Peace University, is really aggressive on the public policy and public administration front. So why don't you connect to the universities or institutions like MIT and the IIM Bangalore and pursue this, and let's see that, ensure that collectively whatever you were thinking of will become reality eventually one fine day. Because I am also really fascinated by your vision and your thoughts, right, on the ethical front. But again, listening to our mentor Subhash sir, as charming as he was always, right, he used to, explain the complex things in a very simple way. And he talked about defining moment. That's very, very, very true in everybody's life, right? We come across those situations, and what stand we take, that defines ethics, right? So let us, and again, he very nicely said, Kaya Kave Kailasa, right? I mean, there cannot be a better rule than this to be ethical. At least I feel it that way, right? So and the third thing he said was, remain simple. Very difficult, of course, to do that or achieve that, because we complicate our life, our thoughts in such a complex way that we forget simplicity. That is when all things get messed up and things become difficult to solve, right? Okay, so I think 3 rules, definitely, sir, we'll take them further and try to imbibe in our profession, imbibe in our life, and also take it to the students. So, but overall, I really enjoyed this session, Pradeep Kumar session, and sir, your views on that. And of course, the Vishwanath Korvi, sir, my good friend, spoke about his experiences, right? The kind of commitment, what we lack today is the commitment, right? Preparing the tea from the house for the event of the institution, how many of us do, right? Just ask ourselves. I mean, that is the commitment, that is what is required, right? Because at every step, he showed that dedication, he showed that commitment, and it was reflecting very clearly in every deed of his, right? At least I could see that. I mean, that is why he used to mention that he fought with the institution on all difficult issues, and he took a firm stand, right? And like my friend Ramakant sir also said, carry resignation. How many of us who do that? Okay, I mean, these things really what makes people different, right? They're unique kind of, people. That is where it is really inspiring, to hear the views on the person like the professor CB Tigadi sir. But in the end, sometimes, I was just contemplating, thinking as to, how we can deal with this. We know the things are very bad, like sir also said, Subhash sir, interference of politics in the education space, Sir, for that matter, not only in the public institutions, but also it has penetrated into private institutions. They demand seats and they demand all kinds of excuses, and they want us to meet those expectations of these people. But somewhere, we know that things are not in the state which we want to be. But somewhere, I think I don't know, whether it is doable or not. So we have to be, we have to change the system by being part of the system, right? I don't know how feasible it is or how doable it is, but somewhere, when I come across examples like Suresh Hundre, right, the founder of the Polyhedron group of companies, and so many cases were written on him. A businessman, right, and who put big board on his entrance, no bribes, gates are open, right, 24/7 by 365. Any officer can come in and check any record. Okay, I openly used to say I didn't pay a bribe, right? And somewhere, we have to find such examples and try to change the system by being part of the system. Very difficult, easier to say, I know, but somewhere, somehow, we should try this. We should try this, right? And that is when, more Hundres and more Kejriwals and more Ratan Tatas, will come up. And surely, I'm sure we will be able to change the world, change the face of India, or the shape in which it is today. So with that note, one last thing, our tribute, sincere tribute to person of this stature like Professor C.B. Tigadi, sir, is to follow their footsteps, their ideologies, their ethics, the value system that they cherished throughout. Okay, and with the motive, sole motive of making this world a better place to live, right? So if you can follow those, that is going to be a real tribute to the person like Professor C.B. Tigadi, sir. So thank you so much, Anupama Madam, for giving me this opportunity. And Chachidi, sir, really, we are blessed to host this session. And we look forward. Another person in my life who has changed my life is Professor Chachidi, sir. Okay, and he found my interest in academics. He helped me in getting into PhD program, right? And he connected with my professor from UAS, Dr. H.S. Vijay Kumar, whom I remember today. And together they helped me out. And of course, we took 7-8 years during that time because our teachers were role models. Anything subordinate or less standard, they never used to accept. So we really worked very hard, and we realized the importance of it today. So, right. And the moment I got the PhD awarded, I got an offer from KLS IMER, and rest is the history. So all whatever that I have achieved today is the blessings or the good wishes of people like Chachdi sir and Subhash sir and my good friends like Ramakant and Korvi sir. So let us keep meeting again and again, sir. Subhash sir, would like to listen from you because I hear a lot of stories from your students, how interesting your class used to be, right? I met Girish Hiremat, right?
Okay.
Yeah, the other day, yesterday, because his son got through PUC second year. He's looking for admission in RVC. So we were talking about you. And you and Chachdi, sir, really great institution builders. That legacy has been carried forward till you people were there. I don't know how are the things now, but hopefully they are better. So in any way, you are there to ensure that. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for bringing in an all-round perspective of your interactions with Tigadi sir, and also as part of Kausali Institute of Management, and of course how institutions can take the lead role in bringing about this kind of change in the entire ecosystem. Thank you very much, sir. And of course, all of us are keen to listen to Chachdi sir's views because sir is being the backbone and giving us this opportunity in conducting this program. Sir, I request you to please take over and give your concluding remarks about this endowment lecture, sir.
Please unmute yourself, Professor Chachari. Please unmute yourself, Professor Chachari.
Sir, please.
You're not audible, sir.
Please unmute, sir.
Yeah.
I must profoundly apologize to all of you for my inability to join in time, and which made us waste some time. And anyway, I am thankful to the RV Institute of Management and Dr. Bang and Dr. Anupama for having made it a reality to have the third memorial lecture. We would cherish memory of Professor Tigadi very much, because he stood as an apostle of discipline, commitment, involvement, sincerity, hard work, and whatnot. So he guides us, his soul guides us through in all our endeavors where we face difficult situations and difficult people. And when I was thinking whom to invite to give this lecture, because the first was a student of Professor Tigadi, Dr. Mukund Dikshit, who is a professor at IIM. Second was student of Professor Tigadi, Dr. Kalkundrika, the first director of IMER. And now it is Mr. Pradeep Kumar, who would be a doctor now in time to come, who has delivered this lecture. And now after listening to him, I feel I selected a very right person, because he has done a lot of work on ethical issues, political ethics, ethics in administration and whatnot, even ethics in private industries. So I think that work should continue and should become a reality. I have some suggestions. During the last phase of my deanship, I introduced 10 specializations as an optional subject to be introduced in every MBA course, which included political management also. It had airport management, waste management, agriculture management, and so on. So I feel it can be converted into political administration, or political management can be kept. We should have an Indian Institute of Political Administration. Now we have Public Administration Institute at the national level, but we don't have political administration. What is involved in panchayats and Jilla Parishads and everywhere is political administration. You have to manage politics also, and you have to manage administration also. So I think we need to create this blend. So from this point of view, there is nothing wrong in mooting this idea at the national level. So if we catch hold of the ministers at the cabinet level and the central government and prepare a detailed project and push it through, and through the Ministry of Education or University Grants Commission or any other related ministry, it can come through. And I think RV Institute of Management Studies and Chetan Business School and Kausal Institute should join hands with Pradeep in preparing a full-fledged project and pushing it forward to the political administration so that it can take a national shape. Because very much needed. Yeah.
Professor Chachari, if you,
yeah.
I don't know whether you could listen to one of the suggestions we had made to Mr. Pradeep Kumar was that we are at the stage of building the Kausal Institute of new building, right?
Yeah.
So what I was suggesting is this new idea that you have of this Indian Institute of Change, if it can come in as a separate institute by itself, entity by itself, it can be KIMS 2.0. And I said I've offered myself to talk to Professor Gursi also and see whether we can have a meeting with Mr. Pradeep Kumar. And since he's also in touch with the Tatas, there is a possibility that we will be able to somehow get the government and other funding people along with our alumni to set up an institute as that particular part of the program. And under that also we can have the regular MBA also going on along with that. But the focus could be on the change, and it could be a new way of looking at KIMS. Actually, that's what I. So I would request you also to accompany me when we meet.
We'll do. We'll have a meeting with him. We'll get Purushottam to meet us. Pradeep Kumar to meet us either at Bangalore or Dharwad.
Yes.
And we'll invite all the concerned people. We'll have carry it forward.
Sure.
And I, in lighter vein, I say the very word that change that Pradeep Kumar used, that must have created a lot of problem. No one wants to change. I read in the psychology books that change is painful. So no one wants to change. So if you want people to directly ask them to change, they will not change. You have to change them in some other way. So I think if we name it as a political administration or political management, which is quite relevant because all politics have a problem of managing. In fact, we had one institute offer 2 projects of helping an MLA manage his constituency as far as voting and future voting is concerned. And it's a very interesting project, and where the student worked and found out what are the loopholes of this MLA in meeting up to, going nearer to the voters. They carried an opinion poll, and that feedback was given. So I think he used that and he got elected again because it gave him very good insights into what he should be doing and what he should not be doing. So I think management plays an important role. It's not just corruption alone that gets votes. It is the good management that gets you the votes. We have seen in recent some of the elections here that if you are really sincere, committed, involved, and you are accountable, you perform, you are definitely going to get elected. And management is very much necessary. Mere intentions are not enough. It should be backed by managerial skills. So I think all the management people, all the MLAs, MPs, ultimately are managers of the country who manage it through the parliament or assembly. We need to equip them. And there is an unfortunate situation that they don't get trained before they start working. They should go through the whole process of training where they understand the country, they understand the job of an executive. If they become a minister, they must know how to use their time and whatnot. So from all these points of view, we will push it forward. And I must thank Pradeep Kumar for an elaborate and very inspiring way in which he has carried forward his assignment. As a good student of Professor Tigadi, I think Professor Tigadi would have been very happy to listen to him. I think wherever he is, he will listen to him. He would have listened to him and appreciated him for what work he has done. So anyway, I must admire all of you for your patience and involvement in this program. Professor Subhas, Dr. Korvi, Dr. Bang, and Professor Ramakant, and all others who have joined us on the line. We are not able to personally acknowledge them, but I must also thank Dr. Mukund Dikshit, a great admirer of Professor Tigadi, and a great exponent of ethical values in life. So with these, gratitude, words of gratitude and thanks to all of you involved in this program, particularly the family of Dr. Tigadi. I have sent the link to his daughter also. Hopefully his son and daughters are also listening to us. I must thank all of them for their hearing, and I must thank for this occasion for me to pay a small tribute to my teacher on this occasion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
you for those concluding remarks, sir. So I am reminded of saying,
and I must particularly thank Anupama because she's in Bombay right now.
Yeah.
Actually, this program would have been an offline program at Arvi Institute,
Yeah.
but because of the last minute change, it went to online, and that is how we have some problems with technical problems. And thereafter, I thought she would forget this program and what will happen to the program. I was wondering. Now, even if she's in Bombay, she has been working right from the last night. She has been attending to every call of mine, and she's doing work wonderfully. That shows her commitment, because I was told she even took class from a hospital when her father was not well. And people are wondering why they are seeing nurses around there. That is then they came to know that the teacher in the hospital taking care of their father and father-in-law. So anyway, great to Dr. Bang is fortunate to have such.
Yes, sir. No second thought.
I wish her all the best in her career. And
thank you, sir.
with blessings of Professor Tigadi, you could go to any height.
Thank you so much, sir. So here I am reminded of one thing, what John F. Kennedy has told. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. So hopefully, if we are able to imbibe these values and inculcate them in our lives, I think the world would be a better place to live in. Thank you so much for this opportunity, sir. And I thank each and every panelist and every participant who is there in this webinar. It's been a great session all through, because these are things which are lingering on our minds in a very pertinent way, but we find there is no solution to that. So this is how I think the change process begins. Thank you once again. And thank you, Monk sir, for giving me this opportunity to host this program. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
I'll
you.
be in touch
Thank you
with all of you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Pradeep
I'll be
Kumar.
in touch with all of you, sir.
Wonderful work. We'll meet sometime.
Thanks a lot.
I will come and meet you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Subhash. Thank you,
very
Dr.
much.
Monk. And
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Chachadi sir, for giving us this opportunity. Thank you, Subhash sir.
I must thank you.
Yes, sir.
But what my suggestion is, the topic is very good. I wish students should have been there. To please organize a offline program at your institute on the same topic.
Yes, sir.
And invite Pradeep Kumar to talk.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
we'll also come at that time.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
we will be in touch with him, and on selected topics, we will definitely invite him. And because even the student community should cherish that. So
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
we will discuss and frame, come out with some topics.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Monk. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.